Hey y'all, it's Thursday, January the 7th, 2021. And I'd like to just share briefly what happened in the Capitol on Wednesday, January 6th. We were part of the MAGA rally, and we had arrived Tuesday night and got up Wednesday morning and met a group from our hotel. Several different people came with us, and we left around 7:30, got to the rally about a little after 8. We'd stopped for coffee, and we stood there all day, and they opened up the rally with prayer, and we all said the Lord's Prayer. I have a brief video of all of us, the hundreds of thousands of people of us filling up the National Mall, saying the Lord's Prayer. And then after that, we opened up with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we sang the Star Spangled Banner. And then they had speaker after speaker, and there was standing room only. And there, we were exhausted and tired, but stood there and stood there and stood there and waiting for the president to speak. And you couldn't sit down because it was all mud. There was no place to sit unless you brought your lawn chair. And of course we flew, so we couldn't do that. So we stood, and everyone around us was positive, was supportive of the president and supportive of our country. And there was no violence. And there were some uncouth people. There were people that used foul language, but it wasn't anything where it was violence. It was just, people just rough around the edges, and they weren't inciting violence. And when the president spoke at noon, or actually he was supposed to speak at noon, but he actually didn't start speaking until like a little after 1. And he did not incite violence at all. He got up there and he couldn't believe how many people were there. He thanked us for being there. And then he rehashed all of the evidence that we have learned about since November the 3rd about the fraud, the evidence that is still yet to be disproven and still yet to be investigated, but the evidence that we know is there, that we can see. And in fact, it was kind of somebody around us, this is boring because you're not giving us any new information, and he wasn't. It was all just the same information that we've had since November. And so we were kind of asking amongst ourselves, what is he going to do about it? And of course, he didn't answer that question. But then, of course, we walked. They said march, but we walked. And most of us had stood there for, 5 hours. And so our toes were cold, our knees were stiff, and we were tired. My feet hurt, and we were hungry because we didn't eat because we were waiting for the president, and we didn't leave. And many of us hadn't gone to the bathroom or anything. So we just, we weren't, ready to attack or anything. That wasn't even in the atmosphere. It wasn't there. And so we walked to the Capitol, and during that time, there were people on the road that were preaching the gospel. There were people passing out tracts, or people passing out, giving away books. There were vendors selling MAGA hats, and there was all this peace, and we were all just, there was no, pitchforks, and it was nothing like that. We get to the Capitol, and we most of us sat there because we were exhausted, and we found like a granite step to sit on, or a concrete culvert or whatever. And there were people that were kind of grouped off that were listening to a live stream of what was going on in the Capitol. And some people, like, we would hear little whispers of, well, Pence did this. And we weren't always happy about what we heard, but we were still hopeful that there was going to be, still some more development. And so Mom and I sat and ate. A lot of people did the same thing. They pulled out their lunch out of their backsacks, and that they took that opportunity to eat lunch. And then it was after 2. It was like 2:15, 2:20. And so Mom and I were like, it's going to take a while, and we have to catch our flight. So we left and went to the metro to head to the airport. We were in line for the airport when 2 ladies, not for the airport, we were in line for TSA, when 2 ladies walked up right behind us. We were like there for like maybe a minute or 2 or 3. And of course, we didn't know Washington, so probably took us longer to get to the airport than them. So we're looking at maybe a 5-10 minute window of from when we left, from when they left. So we're not talking a huge amount of time. They came in right after us at TSA, and they were talking, and they couldn't believe what had happened. Of course, we hadn't heard anything because we were, getting to the airport. And so we found out from them that they saw a bus drive up and people come out of the bus and then storm the Capitol. And we were flabbergasted and couldn't believe that happened, because we knew it was Antifa. Automatically, we knew it was Antifa, because the MAGA people that were there were not, that wasn't in the atmosphere. We were not angry, we were not hostile, we're not belligerent. We were just there to support the president and to encourage Congress to do the right thing and to find out what was going on. We were listening. We weren't like, ready to storm the Capitol. We weren't angry. And so we were angry, but that residual anger from November the 3rd, nothing new. And so we couldn't believe what happened. So they were actually on our flight. So we all get on the flight and we all land. And when we landed, we found out again about the deaths. And then we found out that they were blaming us. And my heart broke, because this wasn't us. This was not the hundreds of thousands. I'm guessing 2 million people. There were too many people there to just be 200,000 people. It was probably 2 million people that were there. And this was not us. And some people are like, oh, you don't know. There could have been like little pockets over here and there. Sure, but that wasn't the atmosphere that we were in. And we were walking around and mingling, especially after we left the National Mall. People were walking down the streets and, going in and out, weaving in and out. And everybody was, patriotic, singing the Star Spangled Banner. And there was nothing about, storming the Capitol and walking in and forcing our way in. Of course, when we saw videos, the police let the Antifa in. And they should not blame us. The people that were there to support the president and had been there since 7, 8 o'clock that morning, that was not us. We were there to support the president, and we still support the president. And so we don't like it when our representatives and our senators, people that we voted for, turn around and tell us that we were wrong. We didn't do this. We voted for you, and we will not vote for you again, because you betrayed us. You believed the lie. You were in the building. We were out of the building. We knew the people. We were in the people. We were the people. This was not us.